Zoe, I'll start this one, or pass this one to you. If you decide to take on the Safety Climate Tool, what are some of the best ways to get worker engagement, and how do you best communicate that to your workers? I don't know if you, in your experience working with organisations, some of the businesses that have gone through that, if you want to share.
So one of the first things you need to think about is having a decent plan in place for when you're going to launch that survey. So we found the launching surveys, for example, over the Christmas period, that's not going to work. Most people are off enjoying Christmas. People aren't going to want to complete your survey. Also, if you have, so within the civil service, for example, we have people surveys that are done at the same time every year. You don't want to run it at the same time as that. If it's in the middle of the summer holidays and people take a lot of leave off to spend time with their kids, you might not want to run it then. And I know that sounds like it's getting very restrictive, but it's all very different depending on the organisation. If you've got things already scheduled in, don't schedule this at the same time, because survey fatigue is a real thing. And if employees just keep getting sent the links to all these different things, you're not going to have that engagement, because people will be like, this is a lot of surveys. It's also important as well, like just thinking ahead in time. If you've run the survey, say now, for example, and you want people to do the survey again in a year's time, you've got to make sure that you are actually going to put the work in trying to make improvements between now and then, because that's also a big thing. If people are filling in these surveys, which can take a bit of time, particularly if people are quite busy, if people are already feeling stressed with their pressures anyway, or lots of different things going on with their workloads and they're taking the time out. As soon as an organisation stops actually acting on the results of these surveys, and people just think, well, I'm filling it out, and they're not doing anything about the answers, then they're going to be less likely to engage the next year, and your numbers may dwindle. So it's a really good tactic to make sure that you are actually doing something, not just getting those numbers and saying, okay, that's it now, I've done my part, making sure that you do act on it.
And if I can sort of add on that as well, because you can look at it as an opportunity to take a more strategic approach to actually encourage across the board the level of worker engagement in your business. So that would be using the climate tool, as Zoe said, as the vehicle, but thinking again, I mentioned about, who are the key movers and shakers in the business. It might not necessarily be someone at management level, it could be someone on the shop floor who people listen to. But thinking about how your business communicates. Do you have like really unwieldy, 7-page emails? Do you use social media? Do you use mobile phones? Do you have regular staff briefings? Really think about how you're engaging across the piece, no matter what the topic is, and having a strategy in place of communications. So what you're doing as you're rolling out, as Zoe said, rolling out the survey, what you're doing at every stage, you're telling people in advance what you're doing. Oh, we've done this, we've done a survey, we're going to tell you, we're going to be running some sessions, we might be doing something in our safety week. And even when you put your action plan in place all the time, have a plan over maybe 2 to 3 years about what you're going to do, because your action plan or your risk assessment, those activities you're going to do, saying you need to let people know that as the result of their investment of time, whether it's the 10-15 minutes they've spent doing the survey or the time they've spent communicating either as a safety week or as a focus group, that it counts. Their say has counted. So this is how over 2 to 3 years you actually increase the amount of engagement that you have in the business. And often I think organizations just think about the surveys as a vehicle, a means in themselves. But if you're savvy enough and take a step back, you actually can create a lot of good out of it.
Yeah, brilliant points. Thank you both.